Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's been a little bit longer than I would have liked, but been busy and I'm trying to get back into it. So, this is episode 2 of We Need to Have a Chat. I decided that's what we're going to call this series because this is just what I think about the world and the way things are. And if you care to listen, then great. I'm happy to have you here. We're a little bit tighter in on my face this time. I'm playing around with camera angles. I don't know. We'll see how this works out. But yeah, I want to talk about this episode. I want to talk about kind of just, society at large, but really like when it comes to jobs and to buying homes and kind of the American dream and just kind of that whole general topic that I think a lot of young single males are kind of experiencing right now. And I want to preface by saying I'm not trying to come off as like a whiny bitch, but I feel like I do have some very valid criticisms of the system that we are currently in the way I think it's really screwing people over. And so I'm going to try to be cognizant of not coming off like a victim, but don't just prefacing that I don't see myself as a victim. I know that, there's things I can do to try to better my situation. But I do want to point out that I think it's a predatory situation to begin with. So I just want to kind of get that out of the way. And apologies if I do kind of come across as whiny. But it's something I'm very passionate about, so I might get a little emotional. But yeah, I basically just want to start by saying that flat out, if you pay attention to, if you're just a logical person and you like to look at systems and the way things run and how things are connected, and that's something that my faith has brought me into, is like I've always kind of been an intellectual person, but when I accepted the truth of God and understood that things are more connected than it may seem at first glance, and then everyone's like, yeah, you're crazy for, oh, this is not connected. Like, why are you connecting these things that are not connected at all? It's just, it only started affirming that they were for me. Because you could just see little things that will, like, the first thing, the example I guess I could give is, like, when I was in high school, I noticed a lot of kids with broken families. Those are the ones, like, the dad wasn't there, or abusive parents, or divorced parents, or whatever. Those are the ones who always acted out with their identity, so they're the ones who are sexually confused, the ones who are transgender and stuff like that. And so just little things like that, and that kind of got my brain working. Anyway, not what we're talking about today, but just kind of my introduction to kind of waking up to the web of connections. Like one seemingly unrelated issue actually is a big part of another issue. And so I want to say that the system, oh gosh, this goes to so many different things, including public school, but we are, and by we I mean working class Americans, are the tools, we are the pawns in the game of the rich elite. And people, you're going to hear people say that. It's like, well, who are those people? I don't think the people that really run the world actually, I don't think we know them. I don't think Elon Musk runs the world. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg runs the world. I don't think Jeff Bezos runs the world. I don't think Bill Gates runs the world. They're billionaires. I think the people who really run the world are their handlers. And so the people that we know by face, those are just a facade. Those are, they're real people, but they're not really where our attention should be focused. And whether or not we know their face, like, I think that's kind of irrelevant, because the point is, the people who have all the money, all the resources, all the power, they control everything. And what do? We work for them. And because, well, look, we don't, a lot of people have been born into this system, this society, and they don't want to go hungry, right? I get it. You don't want to go hungry. You want to have shelter. You want to be warm. You don't want to die. Like, I get it. But there's something that you hit a point in which you look at everything and you go, wow, we're being so lied to, we're being so manipulated, so controlled man, I mean, we got to do something about this, right? And I'm at that point, and I'm not even 21 yet. I just don't care about it all. I'm only in any sort of a somewhat okay position because my parents let me stay with them, and they've been very gracious. But like, I did the math at my the job that I was working full time, and I guess maybe I'm still technically working full time. I don't know. I guess hours wise. But I was working 5 days a week. When I first started that job, I was working 5 days a week. I would always take closing shifts. I would always pick up extra shifts, just to kind of prove that, like, I wanted to put in good work, and I wanted to make more money, and I wanted to, the company I work for specifically, there's not like a lot to work up to. It's retail, but a very small business retail. And, so it's just like, okay, there's not a lot to work up to, but there's, I was kind of trying to work up to what you could, and my efforts got ignored, and basically I just got spit in my face, like, honestly, because my work wasn't recognized, and then I was basically just insulted, and then I was told by my manager that, like, I have a good work ethic when I want to, but I'm like, well, every time I ever, went above and beyond, it was never recognized, never rewarded. And so you see that happening with so many people. I mean, mine's just one example, but you see that over and over and over again. And it's just like, that's one of the frustrating things. Like, you can put in so much time and effort into a company, and you get nothing in return. Like, you can, so there's really no incentive to do more than the bare minimum that the job requires you to do. Because, and like, I looked at it as an integrity thing, and to some degree it is to me. Like, okay, look, I've been hired to do this job, so I must perform this well, or at least to the best of my abilities, and I do that. But to me, it's like, okay, I got to understand what the bare minimum of this job is, and then do that well, and then that's where I cut myself off. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go above and beyond this, because I'm not being rewarded when I do so. I'm not being, and other people get away with doing less than the bare minimum, and they get paid more than me. And so that's a shitty part of a lot of the mismanagement of companies. And I mean, I just think, to begin with, the whole system is kind of fucked up, and the fact that we have to work for other people is a bit ridiculous to me. But even then, it's just like, well, if I get the appeal, because it's like, okay, someone else is taking on risk, but it's like, we live at a point now where everything is so expensive for so many interconnected reasons that no one can own homes, pretty much. No one from my generation could actually feasibly own a home without practically killing themselves trying to work, I don't know, some insane trade job. And even then, you still have to, like, homes are like $350,000, like, flat out. I mean, you're looking at, like, for 20% down payment, that's like $80,000. That's insane. I mean, people live, because you would have to save that money up while living on your own if you weren't in my position where your parents let you stay with them for a reasonable amount. Like, you'd have to somehow save up $80,000, but most people can't even get by. They can't even paycheck to paycheck. Or they, like, just slip by, and it's like, if there's one emergency, they're screwed. And that's another thing. It's like, people can't save for anything bigger because there's no money to work with. I mean, again, if they have an emergency, their car breaks down, or they're sick and they lose money because they missed a couple days of work, and they don't have any sick time because a lot of their shitty retail jobs don't have any benefits of any fucking sort. Like, these people are now screwed, and they're on the verge of being homeless. Not because they're not busting their ass, but because the system is predatory and takes advantage of people and doesn't give them anything in return. Because, by the way, might I add that not only is it ridiculous that some people are paycheck to paycheck working full-time with two incomes, like, husband and wife, the fact that even exists is beyond ridiculous, but those people then still don't have enough to save to do something better. It's like, that's foregoing, like, that is the tightest budget That is like bare minimum on food, bare minimum. I need car insurance. I need just enough gas. I need to keep my car running. I need electricity. I'm not talking streaming services. I mean, maybe internet, because I mean, honestly, in this day and age, you kind of really do need internet. I don't care where you work. And you need like a phone plan. But it's just like all that stuff is still basics, like absolute basics. I mean, I live in Oregon, and not even the biggest city. And if you were to try to live on your own, you're like, if you were doing cheap living, you're probably looking at, for your own single bedroom apartment, honestly, all expenses, car insurance, groceries, rent, utilities, you're probably looking at $1,500 to $2,000. And most retail jobs, if you're working 40 hours a week and you take like, maybe you have a closing shift and you get a little bit of overtime, you might clear like $2,000 after taxes in the month. And it's just like, there's a lot of those kind of jobs. I mean, it's not just retail, but it's those kind of jobs. It's like, that's kind of what's available unless you have a very specific skill set, or you work up in the ranks. But here's the thing. I know, it's like, well, look, you could work yourself out of that. Go get a better job. But then I look at things from the larger picture perspective, right? Because it's easy to be like, okay, well, you're in a shitty situation, so what you should do is go get the next thing that pays the highest. Okay, so that would probably be a trade. But honestly, when you look at the trajectory of that and you see how much damage you do to your body, to me, it just isn't worth it. Like, the amount of life you're taking away from yourself to go into these trades, and the trade-off really isn't that great. Because I looked into becoming an electrician, right, when I was like leaving high school, because it's like, oh, it's a trade. You can make really good money when you're like a journeyman, and when you get up to like a master electrician, I mean, you're making like $60 an hour probably. But the amount of time, one, it takes to get into that program, because now the trades are being saturated, because everyone's like, oh, go to trades. Okay, sometimes it's a 1 to 2 year waiting period to get in, so you have to be like making money in the in-between time. Then you go to the apprenticeship, and you go through the schooling, which, yes, is usually like paid for by the company, or, you know, it's reimbursed, stuff like that. Okay, fine. But even then, it's like you're still probably making anywhere from $15 to $20 an hour, which is about what you're doing with the retail, until you finally do a couple years of that, work up, and then finally become a journeyman. Then you start making the decent money, and maybe at that point you can start saving a little bit, but you're still probably living in an apartment, and a lot of your money is still going to living expenses, and then you have to save all the rest of that, and you still have to do that for probably, I mean, depending on what kind of house in the area you live, if you're going for the cheapest house, like maybe in my area, the cheapest one, if you hunted for a little bit, you could probably get one for like $250,000. It's going to need, some work and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. So you're probably looking at like 2 to 4 years to really start making the money to where you could save. And then probably another 4 to 6 years of actually busting your hump and saving all your extra money to get a good down payment, which, by the way, so let's say you're now 10 years into this whole venture. You started at like 18, 20, you're now 28, 30, and you're just now getting to the point where you have a down payment. Well, by the way, that's 20%. That's 20% of the house. So you just spent like 10 years, and I know I'm not being precise with my math. I know I'm not being exact specific, but it's like that's kind of generally what you're looking at if you're going into a trade, right? At least, I mean, in my area, based on housing prices and what I did see in trying to get into that. So you put like 10 years in, and now you're finally, okay, now let's say it took you 10 years to get a point where you have 20% down for a house. Okay, well, now you still have another 80% to make up plus the interest. And it's like, yeah, with your trade at that point, you're probably starting to make now you're like, okay, you're now a journeyman, you're making your own stuff. Maybe you head up to a master electrician, maybe you run your own business. Great. And it's like, some people would say sacrifice is worth it, but a lot of people don't want to own their own businesses. And so they just keep going on that path, right? And they're like, okay, well, now I'm making some good money. And it's like, okay, cool. But now you still have 80% plus your interest on the rest of this house, and you're in debt to that. And what a shitty way to live. So it's like you've already spent 10 years getting to that fucking point where you have, okay, well, now I own a home, which you don't own really until, you paid off, and then, oh, by the way, property taxes, so you never really own jack shit anyway. But it's a scam. Don't you see? It's like, well, they tell you get into the trades or get into something that pays more, but it's just like, You break your body down. I mean, 10 years of crawling around in fucking like ceilings and attics and crawl spaces. I mean, that's not, there's a reason it pays. But it's always a trade-off, and I get that about life. I understand that, and a lot of old people can tell me, you're just you just don't want to put in the work, you're lazy. But it's just like, you have to look at things in a larger perspective, okay? My goal in life at this point is to have a family. I want to have a family, and I want to be there for my kids, and so I don't want to be tied away for 60 hours a week as my kids are growing up. Like, I just don't believe in that. I think that's ridiculous, and so... there's so many reasons why it's a scam, but it's just like, that's probably your best path to ground with no luck, no like, the right people. It's like, and even that, there's probably still some like nepotism in knowing people in the business. Like that's just always going to happen. I get it, but trades are probably like the least crappy when it comes to like that. You could just, if you really grind, you can get in and do it. And it's like, I guess if you really put your mind to anything, you could probably do it. But it's just, for me, it's like I'm weighing these options, and it's like none of them seem good. I mean, the only reason I really get to have an option at this point and not just suck it up is because I live with my parents. And part of that makes me pissed off because it's like, well, I really am appreciative, don't get me wrong, but then it's just like, well, what about all these other people that they don't have the luxury that I have? And so it's like, that's so fucked up that the system works this way to keep people down. And it's just like some people are like, well, you just got to suck it up and you just got to have a smile on your face and you just got to keep getting through it. And it's like those people just piss me off even more because it's like, no, the system is broken. It is predatory. It is using you. It's using your body. It is taking advantage of your work and you're not being fairly compensated. Like I wasn't a part of it, but I missed the idea that one person could go to work for 40 hours a week. And this still isn't even ideal, but one person could go to work 40 hours a week, support a family of like 5 or 6 people, own a home. Yeah, you still have mortgage. I get that. It's still not ideal, but like, comparing it to now, it's by miles, it's ideal. And it's just like one person going 40 hours a week, not even a crazy job. They're just, participating in society to the extent they need to, and then they get to have stuff. But it's just, that's a short-lived dream. This facade the middle class really exists is kind of, it's out the fucking window now, and I'm pissed because I'm the next generation. I have to figure out what the hell I'm doing. It's like I don't really want to be a political commentator because I don't want to make money off of headlines. I feel like it's disingenuous to chase, like you're choosing specifically topics to talk about because it's going to get you the clicks so you can get the money. Like for me, like I'm sorry, I was just like I want to talk about these things because I'm passionate about them. I would like to make money from my endeavors, but I don't want to be doing stuff. I don't want to be talking about specific things because I'm trying to make money. Does that make sense? Like, I just, like, so, I could really try to push this. It's like, but, telling the truth is just something I'm interested in. Sharing my opinion on what I think is wrong with things and what is right. Like, that's all just me wanting to express myself. It's like, if I could make money from that, that's cool. But, like, that's not really the goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I have a vision of what I kind of want to see my life turn out to be. And it's like, obviously I'm open to that changing. And, they say, if you want to make God laugh, have a plan. Like, okay, I acknowledge that stuff. But like he says, be fruitful, go out and have children. And it's like, I want to have a family, but I want to set up a situation where I can be there for those kids and be a good father and support. And obviously I'm going to have to do some work and but it's just like, I'm trying to find the thing that actually makes it worth it. And like, there's got to be a good balance. It's like, the only thing I can really think of is at this point, starting some sort of my own business, but it's just like, I don't know what that really looks like. And I guess that's part of the fun is trying to figure it out. Right. But so many people are so, first of all, this is just talking to people that aren't even in debt, which is not, I'm going to guess not a very, I don't know the actual statistics, but I'm going to guess that's not a very big percentage of young people, because a lot of young people go to college and are already in debt for that, and there are car loans and all that stuff. I've avoided that. I've had good parents and they've taught me some good principles, and now I just stick to that stuff. But like, seriously, what I was talking about there was like a conversation specifically for people that are not in debt. If you're in debt, man, it's a whole nother thing, because you already have, like, I'm not talking debt for the house or the mortgage. I'm talking like like student loans debt, if you're trying to do all that and live in an apartment and try to save and try to get ahead. And then some people also have the idea to start their own business. And so it's like if they're trying to save for a house, also save for a business. I mean, there's just like, there's no money. Like, I mean, people, again, are already living paycheck to paycheck. And it's just like, I mean, we could do something if we all banded together. But the problem is, if everyone just kind of stopped, I mean, America would just crumble. Like, I mean, at least the economy would. And like people wouldn't be getting food. And then it's just like, well, now my family can't eat. And so I know people aren't just going to drop it. But people are only going to really do something when it personally affects their lives to the point where it's like they've had enough. And it's just like, it's so slow. Like, it's just never going to, I don't really think there's going to be a point in my life where people are just going to like, yeah, this system's so screwed up. Let's completely uproot it from the get-go, because it requires too much sacrifice that people are not convinced about. Some people don't even think it's a problem. Some people benefit. I mean, it's just, it makes me mad because it's like, look, there's no, for me, it's like, I have a life I want to live outside of just like owning a home. Like, that's just shelter. Having a home is great. It's one of the things that unfortunately has become so important that like my whole life basically now centers around that, because I want independence from my parents so I can be more attractive to a mate and then get married and have kids, because, you know, who wants to marry someone who's living with their parents? I mean, I'm sure maybe that exists out there, but it's just not a very good look. It's like, how can you really provide for your wife and the kids you want to have if you're still living with your parents? I'm not trying to be not trying to judge or say there's shame in living with your parents, but I'm just saying it's like, if you want to provide for a family that you're going to have, it's like, well, you should probably be able to live on your own. But it's like, and again, it's like, I know people are going to think I'm whining, and maybe they're right, but like, I don't know. It seems like so twisted, because either which way you turn, you're screwed. It's like, and the only reason that what I'm doing even works is because I am right now currently paying, like, I'm not even really technically paying rent at this moment. I will soon be paying rent, but even then, I still have plenty to save afterwards, only working like 4 days a week now, which I dropped some time because it's just like, I need more time to actually focus on things I'm doing. 2 days was not enough. 3 days is better, but man, it still just sucks. And it's like, my job has really been pissing me off. It's like, well, I've kind of been wanting to look for something else, but now at this point, currently in November of 2025, it's actually kind of hard to find, even those kind of like shitty retail jobs. It's kind of hard to find something that's hiring. So it's like, well, do I just continue to stick with what I have? Do I try to make something else for myself? I don't know at this point where to go, because it's like, I want to get out of my parents' place. You know, I want to be independent, but man, it just like, there's no great option. And one of my big things is I want to own land and build my own cabin on it. And I mean, any sort of decent land in Oregon, just land itself, that's not in the high desert, which, I mean, you can live in the high desert, but I'd rather not. I want to live in like the luscious green forests of Oregon. No, too bad. I mean, maybe some of the land you really have to work, you could maybe get like a slice of a couple acres for like $50,000. But if you want anything like decent, yeah, and obviously you're gonna have to work land, I get that, but if you want something that's not like on a cliff or hillside that you really have to mess with, and you want some flat land and some forest, and then like, and you want like 2 to 5 acres, I mean, you're probably looking at anywhere from $75,000 to $150,000 just for the bare land, and then you'd have to build something on top of that, and it's just like, So there's just no real, it's just a continual loop. It's like the upper management and then really the people at the top of these companies just benefit so much from what everyone's doing, but we get nothing down here at the bottom. And it's just like, I mean, there's not even we don't even own anything anymore. We don't even own a house. I mean, at least in the 50s, people owned homes and they could kind of like set their pace at life a little bit more. But it's just like, even if you're lucky enough to get a mortgage on a house, you owe it for the rest of your fucking life because the prices are so expensive. And it's just like, well, then what's the point of that too? It's like, that's why I want to build my own home, but just bare land prices are insane. Just bare land prices are absolutely insane, and those take sometimes, like, I don't see how this generation can continue, because we can't just keep living, we can't just keep renting. That's just, if you want to have a family, you need to have a stable place. I'm not saying that you can't have a family in an apartment, but you're just living so much more unstably. If you have a home, you can call home. It's just like, that's your place. And it's just, I don't see why that's such a big deal. Like, I don't see why. Well, I mean, I see why it's a big deal, because the people, the real people in control of the world, they're scared of the nuclear family, because the nuclear family and good fathers and real Christian mothers, they build the backbone of freedom and liberty in this country, and they fucking hate that because they don't get to control everyone and tell them what to do. That's why collectivism and this LGBTQ shit and having the fathers be absent and everyone both having to work, it's just destroying the nuclear family. That is literally the antithesis of freedom and liberty and any sort of Western tradition and values at all. And so they profit off of everyone, and everyone's too scared to do something about it, because it would literally like take uprooting the system if everyone just stopped what they were doing and we had to reassess and do all that. It's like, okay, it might have a chance of working, but people aren't willing to do it because they don't want to, take away the food from their family and have their. It's just like, there's like, I get that. You don't want to starve and go hungry, but it's just like, at some point, what is the boiling point at which people are, okay, enough is enough? And it's like, I just, for the average person, it's just, there's not a lot of great options. It's like, not everyone's going to have like the business mind. Not everyone's going to have this great idea that just, even if they're not the business mind, their idea is so great and so revolutionary that it's just going to that's not going to happen realistically to a lot of people, to where they could make the couple $100,000 or millions of dollars that then they could just set their life up properly. It's like, you have to slave away. And I think it's disgusting. It's like, I mean, we built this country on freedom, and yet we're so enslaved to consumerism. I mean, trust me, I know that very well. I know I partake in that vice. I'm trying to be better about it. But man, we are consumeristic, and we just want items. And I will say, there are people who are making stupid choices to keep themselves in debt. And I'm not trying to just justify their actions, because, if you're doing stupid shit, then you're doing stupid shit. But the people who aren't, and who are actually trying to have a life and live, have a family and live a prudent life in serving God, it's like being taken so distracted from your family and what's really important in community and fellowshipping with other people, just to work and slave away. Your body's dead, everything, because you've worked 60, 80-hour weeks for this faceless corporation who now has reaped so much off of your work and you get such little in return. It's just not even worth it. Like, it's just not there. No one who even like a manager, like, it's just not worth it, because I mean, to me, the only thing that would be worth it is we could go to work 40 hours a week and we would have enough money, enough capital to buy a home outright within like 5 years, I would say. You got to sacrifice a little bit. You got to be smart. But like, if home prices and actual like wages were to the point where, yeah, you have to set some money aside, but like, you can afford to own a home outright, not have debt for 40 years, if you really put in like a good 5-10 years worth of work. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to quantify it like it has to be this. I'm just saying, it's like, if that's generally how it went and you owned it, not just started a mortgage, then it's like, I could get behind the system a little bit more, because it's like, okay, well, you're not exploiting people so much. And then what happens is, when people own homes, they have more money available to then because their necessities are taken care of, they can be more creative, and then they can put more of the money that they have towards other people's creativity and smaller businesses, and then the economy thrives because, well, everyone's having family, there's more demand, and people have more money to spend because they have their necessities taken care of, and they can go out and spend more money on things that, and it doesn't have to be initially consumeristic, but it's just like, oh, you can go to this deli, you can go to this bakery, you can support the coffee shop, or someone's local art, or, whatever, and we can support each other more, and there can be more entrepreneurs who are, not necessarily like business people exactly, but it's just like they're making some money off of, or maybe making a living, or whatever, off of just something they're interested in. Because when we use the talents that God has given us and the passions that we have, if everyone was focusing on that, people wouldn't be so fucking depressed and wanting to kill themselves because, they'd actually be doing something they're interested in. But instead, that's all stripped away from you from the beginning in public school. It's just stomped and squashed, and you're worthless, you're trash, you're just a cog in the fucking machine, and if you don't do what we say, you're gonna go nowhere. And it's just like, I'm tired of it. I heard it for like 13 years, and I want to escape it, but it's just like all the options seem like absolute terrible paths of destruction. And it's like, sure, there's a little bit of, over-analysis, and I'm probably just, I need to make a decision and kind of stick with it, but it's just like, but none of them seem worthwhile. They really don't. And so it's just like, at what point is it worth even trying? Because it's like, if I can't even own a home and live on my own to then attract a mate, it's like, how the hell do I expect to start a family and to provide for them? And so that, there becomes like a self-identity thing where it's like, I feel kind of worthless, and it's like, but, I have to remember, it's like God died for everyone, and while we are not worthy of his love, he gives it anyway. And so it's just like, in that sense, I mean, I know God loves me, and I shouldn't let myself get down, but it's just when the world is so making it so hard just to exist, without jumping through so many hoops and accepting so much, like pretty much slavery. I mean, it's what it is, which is the antithesis of freedom. And all this shit that pushes all these terrible mental things that, like lust and pornography and that consumeristic market, and just separating each other and no community. It's just like it all ties together, and how it is a complete destruction of good, strong Christian men and women. And man, I don't even know if I had a clear, like, consistent, coherent point, but I mean, it's probably just a bunch of rambling. But I hope you understand that this generation has it tough, and I gotta be honest, sometimes I don't know what to do about it, because it's like, I don't feel like I should have to move from my home state, because, like, yeah, there are places that have land that's cheap, right, that, have the things I'm looking for, like a forest, and, aren't in the high desert. Like, I understand that there's more places in the United States, but my parents live here. I don't want to be states and states away, and I want to live in the state I grew up in because it's beautiful, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think I should be able to do that, but when the prices are so damn expensive, just, I'm willing to build my own house. Like, not a lot of people want to do that. Not a lot of people are willing to do that. I'm willing to do it, but to even get my foot in the door on that, I mean, I would have to, at the job I'm at right now, I'd probably have to work 10 to 15 years to really, and that's assuming land price doesn't change. I have to do that just to buy the land, and then that doesn't even begin to start building the house. And it's just like, 10 to 15 years, I'll be like 30, 35, and like, there's a point at which, you're worrying too much about the future, but there's also like, you got a plan, and I just don't have a plan. I don't, because, like, again, nothing seems worth it. So maybe I'm lacking some perspective, something I'm not understanding, not seeing, because I'm young. Try to explain it to me, but to me, it just seems like the system's completely screwed up, and it's totally taking advantage of everyone. So, huge ranty episode today, but we'll get into some more topics in the next one. I thank you for watching. I probably should run out because this is like 35 minutes. I hope we can just have a discussion about this, and maybe build up some passion and try to figure out ways for us to circumvent this system and have families and be real good Christian men and women and serve our Lord. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.